Okay, colleagues, we're going to resume our strategic planning and budget committee meeting. For those that are still in the gallery, you're welcome to stay. No, it's up to, thank you very much for coming again. So at last, we were at 7.3, responses to council requests. There were some colleagues in the queue that I'll go to. I will say, look, we are going to try to get through this agenda. You know, we think it is achievable. I told my kids I'd be home sometime after 11, and I'm hoping that that could be possible. And so with that, I'll go to Councillor James. Questions of our acting CAO on the report.
Yes. Okay, so thank you through you, Chair Harris. We were provided with a org chart at the request of Councillor Salonen. And I'm just wondering, so we've updated the number of commissioners and the portfolios expanded. How much is the operating for when we add in, say, another commissioner in that portfolio? Like, how does that impact the levy or the operating, if you have anything like that? And the other question to this as well is when we are expanding commissioners or, you know, that executive level, is there anything that you know, council has to approve when it comes to operating and the impact on potential future tax levies?
So through the chair, I think, so the restructuring of the organization is something that that we do kind of on a frequent basis. We often, at least for the executive level, we bring that information back to council for information. The impacts on the levy are usually quite small if we're repositioning, unless there's a creation of a new FTE. But if it's a repurposing of an existing FTE, the impact is quite small, and that's I would say that's done internally by staff. Does that respond to your question, Councillor James?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to think for a little bit. I may have to queue back in. I'll pass it off to someone else.
Okay, Councillor Deutschmann.
Next question. Thank you. So just with respect to the capital budget, was there a plan? Like, are you looking for direction from council on that, or what is the next step? I can offer a suggestion, but I just wanted to know.
Through the chair, so I think in the table that was brought forward, there's a couple of examples there. So I would say we brought this for information. Now, should council want to put a motion to defer one of these capital projects and then see the potential impacts, that, you know, that's kind of what we would be waiting as guidance from council.
So based on my reading of that and recollection, there were two items that would have a potential immediate impact, and the other items would have I guess a 2026 impact, because it would be deferred and debentures and interest and costs and that sort of thing. So I'll just move a motion then that we take steps on all the items listed in the capital budget suggestion from staff.
Yeah, Councillor Deutschmann, I mean, there are a couple ways, and you'd asked for, you know, I guess options. There is the option to submit a motion. We're asking council to do so prior to the 2nd of December. It could be included for budget day. That would include.
Oh, okay, sorry. So instead of doing it now, you want me to submit it?
That's an option.
As a written thing?
I think that may be the logical route to take, to list it out, to get it in prior to that deadline that would list those specifics would be likely appropriate. Or we could do it now.
So I'll move it as a motion. But I'll write something, but in case I forget, let's remember that I talked about it today.
Okay, we will make sure we not forget.
Yeah, I'll put something together briefly and submitted to. Thank you.
So basically, you would list all of basically your intention would be to list all of those capital items that would have net levy impact for this coming
Yeah,
year.
even the ones that don't have a levy impact for this year, but will have in subsequent years,
yeah,
so
table.
future planning. Is there a report number on that?
24024?
All right, I'll follow up with clerk's office and get that information. Thank you.
Councillors, sorry. Wait. Oh, Chair Redmond?
Trying to get up my button. So is it page 24, I believe? Is that in the deck? Councillor Deutschmann, is that what you're saying that you want incorporated?
Sorry, which was that?
I think it was page 24. I'm trying to get back to it.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one I had, wasn't in the presentation.
Yeah, through the chair, it's, just for clarity, it's in Appendix D
Right.
Appendix
of
D,
Report 8.3.
Right, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wolf?
I didn't request to speak.
Okay, we may have some in there from before. Is Councillor Nasalan on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hey there.
Right, thank you. Just on the org structure, thank you very much, staff, for bringing that forward. I guess I was kind of expecting, because part of the reason I wanted to see it was for better comprehension in our budget book when we see the compensation line for each department. I'm hoping to see a number of FTEs and part-time roughly allocated to each department. Could we please get that information added to the org chart? I'm sorry, I just can't see staff. I just see
Yeah, no,
Chair Harris. I'm assuming that was
We have
taken.
a response coming. We have a response coming. Hang tight.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Chair, in Appendix B to that report, we do outline the number of staffing associated with each division as outlined in the budget book. We've outlined the base budget FTEs as well as the initial FTEs associated with the proposed expansions.
Sorry, that is my apologies. I just did not click on Appendix B. I opened all of them except for that one. Thank you very much.
Councillor McCabe?
Thank you. I'm just curious if we could, I have a couple of questions about capital projects, not a specific one, but Commissioner Steffler a couple of meetings ago had in one of his answers had made reference to the fact that, you know, we can reduce in some cases the impact on the annual levy if we debenture things over a longer period of time. I understand that debenturing things over a longer period of time means that you ultimately pay more over a longer period of time, but in the short term, it can help in the short term. So I'm wondering if what might be possible, like, is it possible for us to find some projects that would make sense to be debentured over a longer period of time? And if that's the case, you know, what would that, you know, it would have to have a fairly significant impact in order to, in terms of a dollar figure, in order to have an impact on the levy. But then my second question to that is, if there were capital projects that you could debenture over a longer period of time, is it also possible, like when, you know, our budget situation, hopefully in another couple of years, gets into a better position, you know, could we then take a look at those debentures and say, you know, we want to tighten up the repayment timeline, you know, and take it from 20, maybe to 40, and then from 40 reduce that again? Like, can you kind of just walk us through what impact, if any, doing something like that might have on the, on what we're looking at today.
Yeah, through the chair. So on page 11 of the report, we outline a table that shows the different impacts of paying a $500 million debenture over 20 years, 25, 30, or even 40 years. And so what that shows is it shows that annual payment savings. You're paying more in debt. So, 20 years, it's 38 million annual debt. Debt servicing costs for 500 million would be 764. Where if you go to 30 years, it's 33 million a year, almost 999 million. So what we could do over the next cycle is that where it's appropriate, we could look for debentures over a 30-year term, and where it's practical, it would align to. Usually, it should be assets that have a similar useful life or a longer useful life than that. So mostly like housing type projects would probably be in that realm. So if we wanted to, we could implement that for the next several years where we're going to, I think generally we look at 20-year debentures. We could be looking for 30-year debentures for projects over the next few years. That would lower that debt servicing cost going out over 2026, 27, and forward. We couldn't then, once we set those debentures, we're locked into those debentures. That's the traditional method of those debentures. So we couldn't at one point say, we want to move them to 20 years or prepayment terms and that type of things. I don't think, from my understanding, we have debt instruments that have those kind of flexibility. But we could then say, okay, we want to move back to 20-year debentures. So we could do it for a few years, lower those payments, and then go back to what we were normally doing at a 20-year rate.
Okay, thank you for that. So could we just, through direction to you, could you come back and take that away and do some modeling on that and come back to us, I guess, by December 11th or in advance of December 11th to kind of show what might be possible?
Yeah, we can. We have to make a lot of assumptions because it's all dependent on projects, when projects are completed. But I can work with my group and we can model that out to see what that would be over time in savings.
Chair Redmond.
It must be a legacy list. Can I just underscore what Councillor McCabe was saying, but that's not going to impact this year's levy, correct? This is on a go-forward basis.
Councillor Foxon.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm going to allude to what I emailed you about previously and apologize to Commissioner Rose. She was correct that the province did put in the new construction rule, and although it was 30 days, Commissioner Rose, they've just changed it to 28 days. And I think Council should maybe reconsider that motion. If you consider the amount of construction we're doing and the invoices that have to come in and be dealt with within 28 days, that may be insurmountable. So either now or at another time, I may ask that motion be reopened so we can relook at it and revisit it.
Yeah, you'll have an opportunity on budget day, Councillor Foxon, to deal with that if you want to bring that back.
Thank you.
Councillor Shantz.
Thank you. And thank you for the FTEs on this. This is very helpful. I'm getting questions from a number of very different places about staffing and increases, and I'm wondering if we could have a comparator from 3 or 5 years ago, just to sort of see the progression of how the and realizing that most of our work is done through staff, so there's going to be increase. That would be helpful if that's possible.
I think there's some nodding of heads that they can provide that. Councillor Hunick.
Thank you, Chair. In line with Councillor McCabe's question about lengthening debentures, do we, Commissioner Steffler, have the option to shorten debentures if at some point, we get a new fiscal framework that allows us to have more revenue and so on and so forth? And then could we re-catch up, if you will? Or are they set as a permanent, one way or the other?
Through the chair. So I'm not fully up to speed on the restrictions that a municipality has around debentures. There's all sorts of long-term debt instruments that you can get in the market. But what I would say from what I've seen is the debentures that we issue are restricted. They have those, you can't make early repayments, you can't change the term. So it would be only, so once we enter into a 30-year, we're committed to a 30-year debenture.
Okay.
What we can do, though, is we can change our policy and say, okay, we want to now go into 20-year debentures going forward. So we could do it for 3 years, and then in 2028 or 9 say, we want to, now going forward, we're going to do 20-year debentures.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay, colleagues, we'll move to 8.4
Go
on
team.
the agenda, the additional deferred motions. These are service expansions that were deferred from previous meetings that will generate revenue or have their future costs offset. I'm recommending that we go in groupings, starting with the resilient and future ready services. There's 4 there. We can. I mean, in your hands. Obviously, we've tackled this a couple times today. We can take them as a grouping, put them up. So again, these are service expansions that will generate revenue or have their future costs offset. So I'll start with starting with resilient and future ready services. There are 4 there. Do I have any questions, or we'll put the thing up on the? I guess a mover, Councillor James moving and seconded by Chair Redmond. So we can pop that up and then ask if you have questions to get into the queue.
Chair Harris, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is referring to.
These, again, are from items 8.4, the additional deferred motions. And these are, again, service expansions that will generate revenue or have their future costs offset. And so there's 4 there. The first batch, employee wellness and peer support program over at Sunnyside, facility maintenance Sunnyside, reducing vacancy losses and reducing contractor costs, fleet outfitter, counter cost escalation and reduce delays in decommissioning. And then over at the solicitor office, 50% recovery from capital and reduce external counsel costs across departments. I think you referenced that earlier today, actually. So those are the first 4 that we can start with. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. Question about the fleet outfitter. I closed my budget book, so I don't know what page that was on. But going by memory, was that one that was for for the police vehicles as well as paramedic vehicles? Am I thinking of the right one?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
So I know the money all comes from the same place, but I was curious why, if some of it's for WRPS, why that part's not in their budget as opposed to this budget? And while you're looking for that, I guess my other question with this is, because it says cost for the position will be offset by, or there's some recoverable value of the vehicle. So I'm just wondering where that is in this, like, and how much we recover from these various vehicles. Like, how much would be offset?
So through the chair to Councillor McCabe, we need to just confirm the first question that you asked about why this is in our budget or not, or in the WRPS budget. The way that fleet services work is that we hire the fleet staff who do the outfitting for WRPS paramedics. And then so the outfitting is basically we get like a vehicle and we have to make it fit the specs for the police and paramedics. So what's happening right now, just the reason why we're asking for this person is that the person that we have now can't keep up with the workload. So we're contracting out the rest of the vehicles to be outfitted at about $125 an hour, depending on the vendor. So we have so many vehicles that we need to work on that some of them have taken 9 months to complete. And this is a delay in getting them back to the service areas. Getting this extra person will take months off of that. It will allow us to have more control in the outcome. We got 33 new marked patrols this year. That many again as unmarked, and 30 or 40 regional vehicles replaced. So they all need some level of outfitting. We will look, though, to see where that budget is sitting. So whether we're recovering from WRPS, which I imagine is the case, but Chris is going to take a look, see if he can find it.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you can bring that back. I'm just curious, like why it wouldn't, like the parts that are for WRPS wouldn't all just be in their budget and brought through that process as opposed to this one. So thank you.
Councillor James.
Thank you. When I went back, it said that the offset by cost savings from other sources of revenue. So staff, I'm sure will get back to us. I just want to remind everyone too that we debated these weeks ago. So these are ones that have already either they're not tax levy impacted or they're being funded by another source of government. So just a reminder there before we kind of go into big debate over these. These are the ones with low to no impact to the levy at this point that we've previously approved in principle. Thanks.
Okay, I don't have any other folks to ask questions, so we could put that up. It was a motion that was moved and seconded already. Natasha? Okay, we'll mark her absent. And that is carried. Okay, colleagues, next is the climate aligned, moving on to Homes for All. There are 3 items there. Employment program pilot, temporary transition funding, 2 staff resources to improve WRH insurability, and a senior engineer. Moved by Councillor Hunick, seconded by Councillor Wolf. We'll just ask that that be brought up then, and we'll vote. And that's carried, colleagues. Next we have is the climate aligned growth. I'm not going to go through that list because we have it in front of us or we've spoke about it before, but there are 19 items. You want to? Chantel, have you got this list in front of you? Yeah, sure, no problem. It's 1 energy student and 1 facilities management student. We're going to invest in 18 temporary positions to implement the approved automated cart collection program. We're going to deliver water, wastewater, and waste management capital programs through 2 FTEs. Okay, that realm of climate aligned growth. Do we have a mover and a seconder on that? Moved by Councillor Wolf, seconded by Chair Redmond. Bring that forward, colleagues. I believe that's carried. Colleagues, thank you. We'll move those on to final budget day. 8.1, motions where notices have been provided. Councillor Deutschmann, we have received a notice of motion from Councillor Deutschmann that was listed on today's agenda. We, of course, will need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Wolf will call on Councillor Deutschmann to introduce his motion.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair Harris. I won't be long, just very simply. As everyone can see, we are going through quite the process in our own budget to find ways to reduce the overall amount, looking through every nook and cranny. And so this motion is simply asking that police will also reduce their budget by $4 million, and they can take it back and figure out how they are able to achieve that. So very simple.
Councillor Hunick.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, I'm wondering that if this motion passes, we can anticipate that WRPS will take us to the province. And my hope is that we would be able to use this as the basis for a new deal with the provincial government, noting the difficulty in not only affording the police budget, which the province is very much in support of, but also noting the difficulty in funding the food bank to the extent they need.
Councillor Foxton. Councillor Foxton.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, I see nothing wrong with this motion. We're asking a question. We're asking the police to look at it for $4 million. And that's the one thing we can do. That's about the only thing we can do is ask them to look at it again. And see what they come back with. It's like a negotiation. So I have no problems with this. And if they're going to take us to commission, I guess so be it. But there's nothing wrong with asking. When we stop asking questions, we stop doing our job. We're not analyzing where they have to take it from. And I believe they sent out an email yesterday or the day before where they did do some cutbacks. So let's ask the question. I'm not afraid of asking the question.
Okay. Councillor Shantz.
Thank you. The police board has looked at this multiple times. We've debated it. We've given you our best budget that we believe is the right budget. And so, I mean, council will do what council does, but you know, the police board has done their due diligence and they put together what we feel is the best budget to produce the protection that our community needs.
Okay. Councillor James.
Thank you, through you, Chair Harris. So I feel like we should be able to ask the question. We're starting to see in other police boards that there are questions that are coming up. You know, I already know where the outcome will go with this, but I think that it is within our due diligence to at least ask. Because, yeah, this is tough. This is tight. There are people who are struggling. We're getting emails all the time. You know, it's not a good look, I think, to the public when they're starting to see the pattern year after year of more after more being asked, and it's getting that much harder. And I think at the very least we can ask and, you know, see where that goes. It doesn't have to be entertained, as we know. But then I'm looking abroad and other areas, and I'm seeing that within other municipalities, people are really starting to question. And that means there's something, you know, that should be looked into at least, as the previous delegate said, systemically, which is probably bigger than around this table. So I will support this motion. It may not pass, but I think based on principle that we have a duty to at least ask.
Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't mind asking. I do sort of mind this sort of judgmental preamble, because I don't think it's totally warranted. If it was simply that we said, this is a tough budget year for all of us, we're all having to look for more ways of tightening our belt. Is there anything else you could do? Something along that line I could support. I can't support the way this is actually written. Thanks.
Councillor Craig.
Well, year after year, during the budget discussions, police has always come up. And there's been all kinds of commentary, from the lack of transparency to the fact that it's not responding to the public, etc. And I think what I'm seeing here, once again, you can't scapegoat the police for the budget ills of the region. And that's essentially what's going on and has been going on. And that's how I interpret it. If, in fact, you send this back, all you're doing is requesting police services to undermine the hiring process next year and getting us, again, behind the ball with regards to being able to support police in the community and new hires in the community. And that's what's going to happen. So it's an exercise. The police board has already reduced the budget, just like you've reduced it here at the regional level, and it has presented the budget to you. I don't like what I'm hearing continually in terms of the commentary about police board not doing its job. That's essentially it. And it gets out of there in the community. People believe that there are surpluses floating around that shouldn't be there, etc., all kinds of things. And it's a very negative impact on the policing community, and it's been over the last 3 years. And it'll come next year too, I'm sure. And I think it's just unfortunate. Anyways, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Councillor Salonen.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I kind of along the same lines as Councillor Wolf. I can see asking the question. The preamble is really catching me up, and I understand where it's coming from, but I do agree on Councillor Craig's point. I think if kind of to elaborate on what he was saying, if we were to pass this motion as is, accepting the preamble, I don't think that that's creating any goodwill towards the police services that do serve our community and do provide important services. So I'm a bit torn because I'm not against asking. I'm just not in favor of the preamble part of the motion.
Excuse me, Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I noticed that while we have quorum, there are a lot of colleagues who aren't here, and I'm wondering if we would consider deferring this till committee day, which is just next week. I won't support it for a whole lot of reasons. I think that a lot of the delegations have conflated a lot of needs with the fact that the police budget is going up. If we talk to colleagues across the province, which many of us do, policing is very expensive, it's very competitive, and I think that if we went out and surveyed the people we represent, the vast majority of people would say not only do they respect the police, they rely on them, and the police presence and the kind of outreach that the police have done to build relationships with new Canadians or equity-seeking groups who have not enjoyed a good relationship with police are above and beyond, I think, most other police forces. So I'm going to ask that this be deferred till committee day, and we could deal with it at that time, and we will have public meetings later that day as well.
We will.
I would second the deferral.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Salonen. So we'll go right for a discussion or a debate on the deferral till committee day on Tuesday. Any discussion on that? Deferral. So we'll go right to a vote then on the deferral, colleagues. So deferring this notice of motion to committee day. Yep. Yep. I did ask for those that wanted to speak to the deferral. I was talking to you. I was talking to everybody in general.
Okay, yeah, so, with respect to the deferral, the only issue is if it's left to committee day, which would be what, December 11th?
Tuesday.
Oh, sorry, Tuesday coming up. Okay, good, so I just wanted to, give time. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's fair. Okay, yeah.
Okay, if there are no other speakers, we'll put that deferral up then. Oh, Councillor Hunick, you're in for the queue?
Yes.
To the deferral?
I think so. As part of the deferral, I'm wondering if Councillor Deutschman would consider revising his preamble so that it's not quite so.
Well, so Councillor Hunick, that would not be a part of the deferral. I'll leave that to
sorry.
Well, just as it was directed to me, I would remove all the preambles and just deal with the be it resolved on committee day.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's do the deferral and then see where that lands us. Okay. Okay, so that looks like that carries. So we'll defer that motion to committee day, December 3rd. I'll leave it to Councillor Deutschman to do what he's got to do to whatever. So colleagues, communications, I have no communications received. Is there any other new business?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Hunick.
Sorry, Chair, I didn't know how to push the button. In regard to something that came up earlier this morning, I'm still interested to know whether or not we can do anything on the HR side in terms of our new hires being those who are from equity-seeking groups and or from the region. And so I'm wondering if Commissioner Konopka could come back with some info about that. I don't know if that's a motion or a direction or even possible.
I would say that's likely enough work that a motion would be required. Maybe a show of hands around council, but that looks and seems like it's a bit of a. I wouldn't say I would think it would be some significant effort to put that together. So it would likely be an appropriate motion to bring forward, like our other colleagues do, to direct staff through a motion. Do I get some acknowledgement from our colleagues? I think the size of the ask, or the nature of it, would require our colleagues to chime in on this. Go ahead, Mark.
Chair, I've got a message from Kate who says that she will do a little bit of research and will bring this back to council.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, there was acknowledgement that there could be a little bit of research done, but if it's something more substantive, I guess I just look around the table for our colleagues on whether this would be something that we would require more of a motion, and then we can deal it at committee day. So I believe, go ahead, Councillor Hunick, if you want to make another stab at that.
So I'm wondering if there is any legitimacy to favoring qualified applicants for new positions at the region who are either from marginalized groups and or currently residing in the region, so that our tax dollars stay in our region. I don't know if that's legal or
Yeah,
legitimate?
Councillor Harris, I just want to caution here because though that is a significant amount of work required and certain things that would need to be followed. I think you'd absolutely need a motion, but I think when it comes to specifically stating they have to live in this area, that is something that would be questioned and potentially challenged. Regarding the work around equity deserving groups, there would probably be policies or something that's already existent that is within our hiring practices. So I just want to caution with this because it can turn into quite a bit of work and it can get messy as well. So that's just what I'll have to say to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a general consensus on that, Councillor Hunick. I mean, I know I've got a speakers list here. I don't know if Councillor McCabe, did you want to get in on this one as well? There's something else. So, I guess Chair Redmond?
Can I just suggest that is this maybe just direction to staff to come back with what exists right now and how much work it would be before we decide whether or not we're going to go there? If Councillor Hunick is agreeable to that?
I am there.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
I
legal
am very agreeable to that.
parameters. Yeah, this would be an outside. It is a new business item, I suppose, but yeah, I don't think the timing needs to be final budget day, correct, Councillor Hunick?
I wasn't trying to create a ridiculous or illegal amount of work. I was just trying to get more info on the subject. So whether it's direction to staff or a motion or later on in the process, that's fine with me. I just wanted to bring it up as other business.
Good.
So, sorry, Chair Redmond, what is how are we proceeding here?
My suggestion would be that we ask staff to come back with maybe a report, and again, not necessarily for budget, just to say what policies are in place, and if it were to be a deeper dive, how much work that would be, rather than asking them to go to all that work. I would imagine that legal would want to weigh in as well.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Councillor McCabe?
So I have another budget-related question, because, I mean, can we still ask about operating issues and as well, or I really wasn't sure sort of the remainder of this, because I know we.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to now.
Or are we past that?
We are at a point now that we're likely going to need to be prepared and raise those on December the 11th.
Okay.
Maybe Wayne wants to speak to that.
I just found that, I mean, I just found the order of the agenda today to be a bit challenging, because I didn't really see where on this, with the agenda items, where additional questions about other ways to potentially reduce the levy could be inserted. So that's where I was partly struggling with this agenda as it's laid out.
That's a fair point, perhaps. I mean, we were following an agenda that was there. I mean, the December 11th will be the opportunity to bring up anything new or additional that we've not debated or discussed, in addition to the things that we've punted now to Budget Day. I don't know, Mr. Steffler, if you want to chime in on that one.
Through the chair, we can also, if you have questions, you can send it to us and we can work on them and have a response.
I understand that, but part of the point is to have a discussion in public. So again, I'll make some suggestions for how we do this process next year that I think might improve some of the process in general, if I could be so bold. Thanks.
Councillor James. Okay, Councillor Salonen.
Well, really, I wanted to chime in on Councillor Hunick's stuff, and Chair Redmond kind of already did. That is a policy issue, which I do just want it to be separated and not be distracting from budget. So when that comes back, if that can be done. The other thing I just want to say, I know it's been a very long day, colleagues, and thank you, Chair Harris. I know you've had a lot of work since 9 a.m. controlling us, but I do want to remind everyone of our procedural bylaws and not cutting in when other people are speaking, and keeping general decorum aligning with our procedural bylaws and code of conduct to ensure that our meetings go effectively, and just want to kind of remind everyone of that.
That's a good reminder. We'll probably have that reminder at the beginning of the next meeting as well, just to keep things moving along. I think it was a productive day. With that being said, Councillor Hunick, did you have anything further?
Just in line with what Councillor McCabe asked, I'm just wondering if operational questions or concerns come forward on budget day, how does staff get back to us? And when is our time to consider?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, to remind me that, we actually have an opportunity, and maybe Councillor McCabe, although there's a short runway here, there is that opportunity for councillor-led motions. There's a deadline, I believe, of Monday the 2nd of December to have those in. So if there are items that you think would be valid to bring up on budget day that were not discussed now, there's a great venue, I think, for you to exercise, work with finance staff to maybe get something together ahead of the deadline that then would be then discussed. Like there would be an actual agenda item on the table for us to discuss if you have something substantive. So I want to remind council of that December 2nd deadline. Councillor Hunick, remind me what your question was again? That was your question or your statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great idea, Councillor Hunick. The next meeting is December the 11th. Oh, we have the public input on the 3rd of December, and that's starting at 5:30. It's starting at 5:30. So we have a committee through the day. Yes, we do. Yes, December 3rd, we will now start a vote to adjourn. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hunick, Councillor Deutschmann, please use your e-scribe. I'm a yes.
Can I just note for the record that Councillor Foxton was all ready to move to extend past 11 if we needed to.
So does this mean we're not meeting tomorrow morning?